Hi, let's get you up to speed on Severance, Season 2, Episode 6. We begin with Mark describing his nightmarish event to Ragabi from last episode. He is concerned with what they are doing to Miss Casey. Ragabi says that she must be essential and is impressed with the reintegration process Mark has done. We switch internally to Lumen, where Dylan describes Irving's sketch of the black elevator and hallway, complete with directions to Mark and Helly. The three kind of figure out that there must be a floor beneath them, which is where they must be keeping Miss Casey. Mark and Allie ask to see the picture, but Dylan says he didn't bring it with him. He left it behind the picture because he doesn't want to get in trouble right now. Helly doesn't care about getting in trouble and offers to go get it, and Dylan slightly protests because Mark and Helly don't know everything, and he leaves frustrated. Mark has a small reintegration episode after he states that he is starving. At this point, we're not really sure where he is, and I don't believe Mark does either. Mr. Milchek summons Ms. Wong into his office, where he states that he has some improvements to make after his performance review. She seems very smug about the entire thing. He then says he needs to remind her that she cannot graduate this fellowship until he deems her as wintertide material. He dresses her down some, stating she must eradicate her childish follies. Didn't you, just get chastised for using big words? He says he has some personal things to do and will trust the Lumen floor with her. But from her desk, not his. In the bathroom, Mark tells Helly how Mr. Milchek slightly threatened him in the elevator. She has genuine concern, and then Mark lets her know that during the retreat that Mark and Helly were intimate.
Helly, we shared vessels.
Helly is not happy. She feels hurt and cheated. Mark sheepishly tries to explain that he has had feelings for her, and he thought that it was her, but he was tricked, as they all were. Helly excuses herself to walk it off and think about it, and she looks very hurt, very lost, and even a little jealous. We go to a storage locker where we see Mr. Milchek grab a large jar of paper clips and a stack of paper. He is addressing his non-proper paper clip handling skills from his performance review. The man is determined, I'll give you that. We switch to Dylan and Gretchen having another authorized date in the Lumen facilities, chatting pleasantly and getting to know each other. Gretchen tells Dylan he has had a lot of outside hobbies. Phases. Dylan takes this as a positive, as his outie must be very diverse, but Gretchen thinks maybe he's just not happy. Dylan reassures her that it could not possibly be that because while they are together now, he's super happy. Dylan says he wants to be together with her all the time. Gretchen says, well, they are, but Dylan says, no, it's you and him. I'm not there. Dylan asks for a hug because he likes the hugging, and as they do, they also share a kiss. Helly goes to find Mark and Mark Helly, and they run into each other. Mark attempts to apologize again, but Helly cuts him off and forgives him. It wasn't me, it was her. She's so extremely frustrated that her outie manipulated her and her friends and used her body. She is absolutely disgusted with her. Mark, in an attempt to connect, asks Helly if she wants a description of their intimate event, and Helly cuts him off and says, no, I don't want that. I want my own memory of being with you. Helly takes Mark to an abandoned office space where they, share vessels. We return to Mr. Milchek perfecting his paper clipping skills through shaking hands. It seems as he has been at this for hours. He then addresses his uses too many big words complaint by attempting to pare down his customary large worded phrases. For instance, you must eradicate from your essence childish folly, to you must abandon childish things, to grow up, to simply grow. Mark and Helly walk down the hallway in a little bit of bliss, and Helly asks Mark if it was different with me versus her. Mark grabs her and kisses her. When he pulls his face away, he notices that she is bleeding. But it's not her that's bleeding, it's Mark. Ms. Wong tends to Mark's bloody nose, stating that the conditions at Lumen are perfect, so the bloody nose must be caused by something else.
Did you punch him?
Not today.
Ms. Wong continues his examination by taking his blood pressure, and during this examination, Mark has another reintegration flicker, but a more serious one. And again, we do not know where Mark is, and apparently neither does he. It seems we're in Mark's basement during another reintegration treatment. Ragabi is pleased, but Mark is panicked. She wants to speed up the process by flooding his chip through the current hole he has in his head, but it's dangerous.
Is that safe?
There's a slight chance of hemorrhage.
Mark leaves in fear, frustration, and anger to go eat, as ravenous hunger is a side effect of reintegration. We go to Irving, who is nervously attempting to approach Bert and Field's place for their dinner party date. Bert has quite the sense of humor about the entire thing.
Who the hell are you? It's a joke.
On the surface, Fields does as well.
What your innie ever saw in this Philistine is beyond me.
Through pleasant conversation, Irving asks Bert,
How did you come to be at the company?
and Bert explains it was an act of God. You see, his Audi was somewhat of a scoundrel, so perhaps by being severed, which was covered in a sermon at the church both Fields and Bert go to, perhaps his innie's soul could be judged separately, as a person.
They can be judged separately from their outie.
And he would be able to meet Fields in heaven. Outside Irving's apartment, we see Mr. Drummond gaining entry to his place. We then see Dylan and Gretchen having dinner as his outie. Dylan asks Gretchen, how did the meeting go? She said it was cancelled. I wonder why she's lying. We see Mark in a Chinese food restaurant stating he's hungry and devouring food, and even receiving a fortune cookie. At another table, we see outie Helly notice Mark, and she approaches and they have a conversation about Lumen's errors with the overtime contingency. She presses Mark about his experience with it, and through a mix of charm and that customary Severance awkwardness, Helly brings up the loss of Mark's wife. This enrages Mark and fuels him to attempt to process the more extreme flooding of the chip to reintegrate.
Sorry for being a dick. Let's do it. Tonight.
Inside Irving's apartment, we see Mr. Drummond going through his footlocker, which has a variety of papers detailing a bunch of Lumen employees. Through pleasant conversation and perhaps a little liquid courage, Field proposes the question,
Do you think you two ever made love at work?
Fields, Jesus.
he has spoken with his pastor and believes that innies deserve love. I don't think I buy it from him. We are witness to a very extreme procedure involving Ragabi opening up the back of Mark's head to get at the chip and alter it, maybe? Mark experiences a flood of reintegration and pain as Devon knocks on the door. Good timing, right? He allows her to come in, and Mark tells Devon at their attempts of what she calls corporate espionage has been upped, and he's going at it alone. He then has another very heavy flickering event with some sensory disturbances.
And what is that smell?
As well as unresponsive motor functions until he passes out, having what looks like a seizure. We go to Bert and Irving saying their goodbyes and questioning Field's timeline of Lumen events that they both shared. There's an obvious attraction between Bert and Irving's outies as they attempt to awkwardly make another possible date, with or without Fields. Bert closes the door but gives him a longing glance. A little suspicious one. Now you're up to speed. We'll see you next week.